The morning sun rose gently over the quiet village of Umuleze, spilling its golden warmth across cracked earth and thatched rooftops. Roosters crowed in the distance. Goats bleated lazily. From afar came the rhythmic pounding of yam, the song of survival sung by women whose hands carried the weight of the day. Umuleze was poor, but peaceful, the kind of peace that could never be bought. It was the peace that only simplicity could give. At the far end of the village, in a small mud house kissed by years of hardship, lived Kamsi, a young man of restless spirit and fierce ambition. His eyes burned with dreams too large for the world around him. Strong, hard-working, and kind-hearted. But kindness, he often told himself, did not fill empty plates. Humility did not build houses, and goodness alone could not change a man's fate. Every day he watched the rich men of the village ride past on their motorbikes, their laughter echoing through the dusty air. They were men who had once walked barefoot on this same soil, men who returned from the city with gold chains, loud stories, and the confidence of kings. And each time Kamsi saw them, something sharp stirred in his chest. Not envy, but hunger. The hunger for more. His mother, Mrs. Zuzoyan, was a woman of quiet strength. Her face bore the beauty of endurance, each wrinkle telling a story of faith and survival. Every morning she sat beside the small clay pot in front of their hut, whispering prayers to the heavens. "Jokwa," she would murmur softly, "guide my son. Don't let him lose himself in the chase for what this world calls success." But Kamsi's heart was already far away, drifting beyond the borders of Umuleze, reaching for dreams that had no root in red soil. He would wake early, gaze at the rising sun, and whisper to himself, "There has to be more than this." He worked as a Paul wine tapper, climbing trees taller than any house in the village. Each drop of the sweet white liquid brought him only a few coins, barely enough to feed himself and his mother. The work was honest, but it broke both his back and his spirit. Sometimes, while pouring the frothy wine into calabashes, his mind would wander. He imagined himself wearing fine clothes, living in a house with glass windows and shining lights. He dreamed of giving his mother a life free from struggle, a life where her prayers were no longer desperate whispers, but songs of gratitude. One evening, as they sat by the fire roasting maize, Mrs. Itzoy looked at him with eyes full of quiet worry. "My son," she said softly, "I see the way your heart wanders. But remember, this destiny has no shortcut. What belongs to you will come in its time." Kamsi sighed deeply, his eyes fixed on the flickering flame. "Mama," he murmured, "how long must I wait? I'm tired of being poor. Others left this village and came back with wealth. Why can't I?" She smiled gently, her wrinkled hand resting on his shoulder. "Because not every path leads home, my son. Some roads shine only to destroy those who follow them." But Kamsi's heart was too restless to listen. To him her words were the language of contented, a language he no longer wished to speak. The next day, news spread across Umuleze. Chief Benson had returned from the city. Chief was a man wrapped in mystery, his wealth loud, his perfume stronger than his presence. His cars were new, his laughter bold, and his pockets deep. To the young men of the village, he was proof that poverty was joyous. When Kamsi heard that Chief Benson was looking for young men to join his business in the city, who dare Canarias. I need men who are hungry for success. Those words pierced Kamsi like an arrow. Men who are hungry for success. He was that man. Hungry, desperate, ready. After the gathering, he sending money home to his mother. When Don broke, he packed a small bag, 2 shirts, 1 pair of trousers, and his late father's old wristwatch. The only treasure left in the family. And as he stepped out, his mother, Mrs. Isidore, stood by the doorway, tears glistening in her eyes. "Kamsi," she whispered, "if you must go, go with prayer. But promise me one thing. Don't forget who you are. Money is not a master that shows honesty." He hugged it tightly, though his mind was already miles away. "Mama," he said confidently, "when I return, I'll build you a house with zinc roof. You'll never suffer again." She smiled sadly, shaking her head. "I don't want your zinc roof, my son. I just want you to return home." But her words were carried away by the morning wind, unheard by the man whose heart had already been captured by ambition. The next morning, as the lorry carrying Kamsi and other young men rumbled out to the Umuleze, a cloud of red dust rose behind it, wrapping the old woman in a veil of farewell. She stood at the roadside, waving until the truck disappeared beyond the hill, her voice breaking into a whisper. "Destiny waits, my son. May you not return broken before you find it." The city greeted Kamsi with noise, the kind that swallowed thoughts and buried silence. Cars honked without mercy. Street hawkers shouted prices into the wind. The air was thick with smoke, sweat, and survival. It was a world far removed from the quiet rustle of palm leaves in Umuleze. Everything moved fast. People, time, even dreams. The city pulsed with ambition. Even pride, and the women, they called them chairmen with smiles that melted reason. The boy from Umuleze had become a man of means. But at night, when the laughter faded and the city slept, a strange emptiness would creep into his heart. In the quiet, he could almost hear his mother's voice echoing in his memory. "Money is not a master that shows mercy." He would shake his head to dismiss the thought. Mama was wrong, he whispered to himself.
Money brings peace. Yet deep down, he knew peace never felt this hollow. Years rolled by and Kamsi climbed higher in Chief Benson's circle. He has proven himself loyal, efficient, and silent. She trusted him now, calling him his right-hand man. Then one evening, Chief Benson summoned him to his private office, a room draped in foreign furniture and the smell of cigars.
"Kamsi," Chief said, his voice calm but deliberate. "You've done well. There's a big deal coming up, one that will make us both very rich. But I need someone I can trust completely." Kamsi's heart raced. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. "Chief," he said eagerly, "you can trust me. I'll deliver." Chief smiled, handing him a sealed brown envelope. "Good. Inside are documents you'll take across the border. Don't open them. Just deliver them to the man whose name is written here. Once the deal is done, your reward will change your life forever." Kamsi nodded. He didn't ask questions. His loyalty was blind. The journey began early the next morning. The road stretched endlessly through villages and forests. The sun was kind, the air still. Everything seemed perfect, until the police checkpoint appeared. "Good afternoon, officer," Kamsi greeted confidently, but the officers were not smiling. They ordered him out of the car and began a search. Calm at first, then suddenly tense. Within minutes, one of them shouted, holding up a hidden compartment from the car's trunk. Inside were forwarded documents and contraband. Kamsi froze. His heart stopped. He tried to speak. I didn't know," but his voice was swallowed by the chaos. The officers dragged him out, handcuffed him, and threw him into the back of their van. He shouted, pleaded, begged them to call Chief Benson, but Chief never answered. By nightfall, Kamsi was behind cold iron bars. His world had collapsed in a single day. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. No one came for him. Chief Benson, the man who had promised him riches, vanished like smoke. The same friends who once called him chairman now denied ever knowing him. Sitting in the damp silence of the cell, Kamsi replayed every moment in his mind, every choice, every warning he had ignored. He realized he had been nothing more than a pawn, a sacrifice in a game he never understood. The city that once dazzled him had swallowed him whole. Nights were the hardest. He would stare through the small prison window, watching the moon rise, and whisper to himself, "Mama warned me I forgot who I was." He had created her prayers for pride, her wisdom for greed. The months stretched into 3 long years. By the time he was released, Kamsi was no longer the man he once was. The once vibrant youth of Umuleze was now hollow-eyed and broken, a shadow wearing the name of a dreamer who had lost everything. The city that once glimmered with promise now mocked him with indifference. No friends, no money, no home, nothing. And so, with the little strength he had left, Kamsi made a decision to return to the only place that had ever truly known him. He would go back home, back to Umuleze. The road home was quiet. The bus rattled through dusty paths and familiar farmland. With each passing mile, guilt tightened his grip on his heart. What would he tell his mom? How would he explain the silence, the shame, the years wasting chasing a shadow? When the bus finally stopped at the village square, Kamsi stepped out barefoot, weary and hollow. The children playing nearby did not recognize him. The villagers looked at him with pity, whispering among themselves. He began a slow walk toward his mother's hut, where it used to be. But when he arrived, he froze. The door was gone. The roof had caved in.
But compound was silent. Only the wind moved. He called out, his voice trembling, "Mama!" No answer. He ran to the neighbor's house, tears welling in his eyes. "Mama, where is she?" The old woman at the door looked at him with sorrow. "She waited for you, Kamsi," she said softly. "Every morning she prayed. Every evening she looked down that road, saying you'd return. But her heart, it broke before you came back. She died last year." The words struck him like thunder. His knees gave way. The world blurred into soundless grief. He stumbled back to the ruins of their hut, collapsed on the dusty floor, and wept like a child. His mother, the only person who had ever truly loved him, was gone. Hours passed before his eyes caught something underneath the old table. A small wooden box covered in cobwebs. Inside, folded neatly, was a piece of paper. Her handwriting, still beautiful, still strong. "My son," it read, "I told you destiny waits. It never left you, you left it. When you are ready, rebuild what was lost. Not with gold, but with grace." Kamsi held the letter close to his chest, his tears soaking the paper. The night wind howled softly through the broken walls as he whispered to the darkness, "Mama, I came back too late." The stars above shimmered silently, witnesses to his pain. And as a cold wind brushed his face, Kamsi realized that sometimes destiny does not punish. It waits patiently, painfully, until a man is ready to see. The night Kamsi returned to Umuleze was colder than any he had ever known. The wind howled through the broken thatch of his mother's hut, carrying memories that cut deeper than any blade. He sat alone on the dusty floor, clutching her letter to his chest, as if the paper could still hold her warmth. Every whisper of the wind felt like her voice, calling him by the name she once said with pride, "My son." But the stars offered no answer. The silence was his only companion. He stayed awake till dawn, his mind heavy with regret. When the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, he rose weakly and walked behind the hut to the small mound of earth where his mother now sleeps. Someone had marked the grave with a simple wooden cross. Written faintly in charcoal were the words, "Uzor, a mother's love never dies." He fell to his knees before it. His voice broke as the words stumbled out of him. "Mama, I failed you. I thought wealth would make me a man, but it turned me into a stranger. I left you when you needed me most, and now you're gone." The tears came like rain, but in that flood of sorrow, something began to change inside him. The hunger that once rolled his heart, that burning desire for quick success, began to fade. In its place grew a quiet longing for peace, for meaning, for forgiveness. For the first time in his life, he felt the full weight of his choices and the emptiness they have left behind. Days turned into weeks as Kamsi tried to find his footing again. The villagers whispered when they saw him. Some pitied him, others mocked him. The rich man who became poor again, they called him. He didn't argue. He had no energy left for pride. He began to do odd jobs, cutting firewood, helping farmers, repairing fences. The same hands that once carried envelopes of money now carried machetes and ropes. But this time he worked not out of ambition, but repentance.
The days were long and the pay was small, yet Kamsi got no strange peace in the sweat of honest labor. For the first time in his life, humility was no longer his shame. It was his ailing. Still, when night came and the world grew quieted, the ghosts of his past would return. He would sit under the moonlight and whisper to himself, "I thought I knew what success was, but I was only chasing emptiness wearing gold." Then one afternoon, while helping a neighbor mend the leaking roof, he overheard two little boys talking below. "I heard Chief Benson is back in the area," one said eagerly. "They say he's building a big transport company. Whoever joins him will become rich fast." Kamsi froze. His heart stopped. He tried to speak, "We already know," but his voice was consumed by the chaos. He walked down from the roof, his pulse pounding in his ears. "What do you say?" he asked. The boys looked up startled. "We saw him at the junction," one replied. "He came with new cars and men with guns. People say he's looking for village boys to work him again." He said nothing. He simply
nodded and walked away. But inside him, something dark began to stir, a mix of anger, fear, and unfinished pain. That night, he couldn't sleep. He lay on the floor of his mother's hut, staring at the ceiling where moonlight spilled through the cracks. The memories returned. The lies, the betrayal, the prison cell, the years lost. Part of him wanted revenge. He wanted to make Chief Benson feel the pain he had caused. But another voice, quiet, patient, familiar, whispered inside him, "Vengeance will not heal what greed destroyed." He turned on his side, eyes burning. "But what if it brings peace?" he muttered bitterly. Yet, even as he said it, he knew peace and vengeance were never friends. By morning, his decision was made. He would not seek revenge, but he would not run either. He would face the man who had ruined him, not with fists, but with truth. The sun was fierce as he walked toward the village junction. Each step was heavy, but certain. And there he was, Chief Benson, the same man dressed in flowing white agbada, surrounded by his guards. His beard was grayer now, but his arrogance was untouched. Kamsi approached slowly. The guards stepped forward, but Chief Benson raised a hand to stop them. He squinted, studying the face before him. "Kamsi," he said at last, his voice laced with false surprise. "You're alive." Kamsi's voice trembled, but his gaze was steady. "You used me, Chief. You've destroyed my life." Chief Benson laughed, a cruel, hollow sound that echoed off the nearby walls. "Destroy your life? My boy, I gave you opportunity. You were just too weak to handle it. The city is for lions, not lambs." Kamsi's fist chimed at his sides, but he didn't move. "You promised me a future," he said quietly, "but you gave me a prison. Because of you, I lost my mother." Chief Karam stepped closer, his eyes glinting with arrogance. "You lost her because you were foolish enough to believe in loyalty. The world is not about loyalty, Koyam. It's about survival." Kamsi stared at him for a long moment, the air between them thick with silence. Then he spoke, his voice calm but heavy. "Then may your kind of survival never find peace." He turned and walked away. Chief Karam's mocking laughter followed him. "Run along, poor man. Destiny for those who can pay the price." But as Kamsi walked back toward the village, the words didn't hurt him anymore. They sounded empty, like the voice of a man already enslaved by his own greed. For the first time, Kamsi understood. Vengeance wasn't justice. Chief Benson didn't need punishment. He was already living it. That evening, Kamsi sat quietly beside his mother's grave, watching the sun dip behind the palm trees. The sky burned orange and gold. as if the heavens themselves were painting forgiveness across his heart. "Mama," he whispered, "I can't change the past, but maybe I can change what comes next." The wind brushed gently across his face, and for a moment, he felt her presence, soft, forgiving, eternal. The next morning, the village of Umuleze awoke to a new rhythm, one quiet, yet steady, like the heartbeat of a man who had finally found peace. Kamsi rose before dawn, washed his face in the cold stream behind the hut, and looked up at the morning sky. The same sun that once watched him chase vanity now walked him seek meaning. Its warmth felt different, not like ambition, but like grace. He walked to the village square where a group of young men gathered, their faces restless and uncertain. They spoke in low tones about leaving for the city, about riches and fast money, the same songs Kamsi had once sung. He listened silently for a while, then stepped forward. His voice, though calm, carried the weight of lived truth. "My brothers, I was once like you, hungry for success, desperate to leave this place. I thought the city would make me a man. But the city doesn't give. It only takes. It takes your peace, your time, and if you're not careful, your soul." The boys turned to him curious in their eyes. One of them asked, "So what do we do, Kamsi? Stay here and die poor?" He smiled faintly, shaking his head. "No, don't die poor. Live right. Work with your hands. Build something real. The slow road may be long, but it always leads home. The fast road?" He paused, his gaze distant. "The fast road leads to ruin." The young men fell silent. His words cut through their pride like light through darkness. That day marked the beginning of a quiet revolution in Umuleze. Kamsi gathered the youth and began teaching them what he knew: carpentry, farming, simple trading. He used the little savings he had to buy tools, seeds, and wood. Together, they started repairing old houses, rebuilding fallen fences, and planting crops in abandoned fields. It wasn't wealth, but it was purpose. And slowly, Umuleze began to change. The young men who once wasted their days drinking palm wine now work with focus and pride. Women smiled more. Children played freely again. The air of hopelessness that had once hung over the village began to fade. The elders took notice. They watched Kamsi and nodded in quiet approval. He lost the world, but found his soul. Kamsi, however, didn't seek praise. His reward was in the work, and in the peace that came with it. Still, some nights he would sit outside beneath the stars, near his mother's grave. The wind would brush his face, and he would feel her presence in the silence. "Mama," he would whisper, "I hope you can see what I'm building. It's not my house with a zinc roof, but it's a home made of lessons." And in those quiet moments, it felt as though heaven itself smiled upon him. Months turned into years. The little group of workers he started grew into something bigger. Word spread to neighboring villages, and soon people came to learn from him. Not just how to build or farm, but how to live with integrity. For the first time, Kamsi was a leader again, not by wealth, but by wisdom. One evening, as the sun melted into gold behind the palm trees, a group of children gathered around him, beneath the great mango tree. Kamsi sat with them, telling stories of greed, mistakes, and redemption. "The city will show you light," said he softly, "but not every light is truth. Some lights are traps. Never chase what blinds you. Chase what builds you." The children listened in silence, their eyes wide, their hearts drinking every word. They saw not just a man, but a mirror, a reflection of what it meant to fall and rise again. As the last rays of the sun disappeared, he leaned back, looking up at the sky. The stars were out, bright, patient, eternal.
A gentle breeze brushed against his face, and in that breeze he could almost hear her voice. The voice that had never stopped praying for him. My son, destiny waited for you, and now you have found it. Kamsi closed his eyes, a tear slipping down his cheek. Not of sorrow, but of peace. He finally understood. Destiny was never something to chase. It was something to grow into. Sometimes life must strip a man of everything. Pride, wealth, illusions, before revealing what truly matters. And for Kamsi, that revelation was simple. True wealth is not what you build with your hands, but what you build with your heart.